how did you get started in IT, in networking?
So I did electrical engineering. It was electronics engineering, which is similar to electrical engineering back in Colombia.
Mm,
And I felt I need to move into business as soon as I graduated. I know
mm,
it's weird. I found a job in a mobile cell phone operator,
mm,
but it was not in the networking side or in the engineering side, but in the billing department, doing quality. Yeah, I know it's strange move, but I wanted to really work in telecommunications at that point, so I took that job. From there, I got started. I like quality and I like the end-to-end system view I was getting because I had to do quality over the system
mm.
on the billing system, and that required to understand how the customers were using their cell phone, and what benefits were applied to them and how were they getting billed. I like that, but then I saw that the career path I wanted to pursue was business. If I wanted to grow in that company,
Mm.
unfortunately, that was back in Colombia. So I was planning to do a master's in the US, and I started looking at my options. I had been graduated. I graduated like 1 year before I started looking into options. So I
Mhm.
didn't want to wash my engineering title with business, but I didn't want to pursue something very technical either because I wanted to move into project management or marketing. That's what I had in my mind at that point. So I found this master in engineering management, and I applied to it in 3 universities. I didn't think I was I would be approved because, or accepted because I had written and reading skills in English, but my speaking and my listening, I still struggled with it. So
Yeah.
but at that point, it was really bad. But thankfully, they were like written exams, so I got admitted into the 3 universities. And my boyfriend at that point, who is my husband now, was also applying here. So we selected our university together. So we came to Duke,
Mm.
and I started the master in engineering management. And it's funny how I go into IT, which is the question, is because he was going to an MBA career fair, and
Mm.
he told me to tag along. It was in another state, so he told me to travel with him so I could practice my English. So I
Okay.
went, and
Okay.
I approached it like the Microsoft booth and the other companies, and one of those was Cisco.
Mm.
And I was just practicing, took my resume, and trying to get comfortable. I have been like living in the US for like 2 or 3 months, and I got an offer for an internship at Cisco, which was pretty amazing. And I felt like the luckiest person in the world because I was trying to just practice my language. But then when I started my internship, it was the
Yeah.
coolest job ever because it had those elements that I liked from billing at that point, from that billing department,
Hmm.
which was all about quality and end to end. The job I got was in a team that was doing end-to-end solution testing. It was like customer
What is
service.
this end-to-end solution?
Imagine at that point it was for service provider networks. So when Cisco sells products to service providers, there was this team at Cisco that was acting as an internal service provider and putting
Hmm.
everything in place so you can validate it really worked
Okay.
in the way the customer expected. So for
Okay.
that, we had to scale, congest the network, do impairment testing, and just play to. It was just playing to the customer, which was pretty cool.
Hmm.
Of course, I wasn't doing the main testing. I was helping with cables and stuff as an intern. But I thought that was an amazing job, and I changed my mind again. I don't want to do business. I want to stay in the US and do this. So that was through my internship. And I came back to the university and I graduated. But then Cisco extended a full time job position, but it was not in this team. This team didn't have any openings for full time. But I was lucky enough, I entered into this program that was called Cisco Choice.
Mm.
And they give me the opportunity of interviewing different groups and seeing which group was a fit for me.
Okay.
So I interviewing like I had interviews for software development and like hardware teams, and but I got into this testing and because I already knew I liked it, testing the stuff. So I joined a test team in voice over IP at that point, and that's how I started really my
The
career
journey into IT.
IT. Um, since then, I have been like 16 years in Cisco, which is a
Hmm.
long time.
Yeah.
I could tell you all about it, but it would be too long. But the thing is, I have jumped enough in Cisco to be an expert for a time in different technologies. And when I say for a time, is because in this area, I think content, like your expertise
Hmm.
can change really fast. Like for example, some years ago, I was an expert in virtualization. I took classes for VMware 5.5 and all of that. But if you look at that, that's already too old. So I gain expertise, but I only consider myself an expert right now in industrial IoT, which is what I do.
Hmm.
Just because the other stuff has been already too long ago. But I think the key of those jumps inside Cisco have always been I get some sponsor, someone that knows me from a previous job, and there is an opportunity that opens up, and then they think on me, and then I jump. So it has been an interesting career, and even if it has been at the same company, I think it has had enough variety, I would say.
Okay. So we're going to explore this in greater detail. But the way I see it is that it wasn't like, oh, I want to get to Cisco, I want to work in IT. It's just happened.
Yeah,
This is the path that I want to take, but what is this? Wait a minute. This looks interesting. This, oh, I can do this. I can learn this. And this is just how you got started. It's not like, oh, I'm going to plan this exactly and this is going to happen just the way I want. It's a lot of things happening and you just enjoying the ride, right? And you're learning with it and you probably, okay, I'm going to stick with it for now and probably I'm going to drop that. So, okay.
yeah.
And I want
Why?
to highlight this. Just a minute. I want to highlight this because I see many folks like they think that, oh, I'm going to get the school, I'll get my degree, and then I'm going to Cisco, that company, and then I'll get that job. And then once they don't get it, they feel frustrated. And that's not the way life is, right? At least for most of us, it's sometimes it worked the way we want. Most of the time, might not work the way we want, right?
It is interesting because it feels like I haven't been intentional sometimes, and
Mm.
it's the result sometimes of just life changing, as you said. When I was in that voice over IP group, I really liked that group. I started to feel comfortable because at the beginning I really didn't believe my luck,
Mm.
like both being admitted at Duke or being hired by Cisco. I thought they will realize they were making a mistake because I didn't speak proper English. So I was hiding for a long time. But then I started feeling comfortable in this group. And one day someone called me from this previous group where I did the internship and offered me a position. And I was like, no, I'm not interested. I'm happy here. And he told me, you really need to think about it because some things are happening. And I was like, no, I appreciate, but thank you. So it turns out that group was let go, the group and the voice over IP. And I was absorbed without me really looking for it into my
Mm.
previous group, because they were looking out for me. They knew my work. So the point is, I wasn't looking for that, but still, it ended up being a good fit. Sometimes life just changes. But it also reminds me of, I don't know if you're familiar with that Steve Jobs talk about how you connect points looking back.
Yeah, doesn't make sense when you're going,
Uh,
only when you look backwards.
So when I was in the undergrad, my favorite subject was related with control and with control systems,
Mhm.
and I thought I will want to work in oil and gas at that
Mm.
point. But then I had this amazing teacher in a telecommunications subject, and I changed my mind. But today, I work in industrial IoT, so I design networks for those control systems. So it's funny how things. I mean, you think you are not being intentional or something, but your interest and everything is
Mm.
still shaping your path, even if you are
Yeah.
kind of not very intentional about it. And that's my experience.
Well, it's certainly. it's we might not be like expecting this to happen, but at some point in life, I believe that these points, these dots, they will only make sense when we look back. Oh, yes, I was destined to do this. Yeah, but it doesn't look like this when you're going towards that thing. Okay, so you get your job, you land on Cisco. How do you grow professionally? So because at this time you don't have like, this wasn't a plan. So now you're at Cisco. Now you are with your family, your husband, your boyfriend at that time. Okay, how do you go to the next level, to the next steps?
So I guess in my case, it was kind of an easy, I will say like a very not easy but natural progression, because inside Cisco, I got the mentorship and the resources to grow my role. So I got
Mm,
training when I needed. I got a lot of mentors along the way and sponsors. And I use mentors and sponsors a lot because I think those are key for my career. But I think the really key element for my growth was kind of being open to opportunities and taking
mm,
saying yes to them, and just taking ownership of the opportunities when were given to me. So once I was able to tackle some big area, I showed that ownership, that those results, and that's how I got my mentors and sponsors. Because then that was key for the next move every time. So I
mm.
think that enabled my growth, but it has been very I have this company inside Cisco by those people, yeah, enablers I will call it.
Okay. How? Because it's I would say it's not so easy to find people that want to mentor you. How do you find good mentors? Because they did some great job on helping you because you grew professionally. How do you find good mentors?
I think one key thing is to find someone you feel, for mentors different than sponsors. I guess mentor is, I like to find someone which I feel some affinity with,
Mm,
and also that I'm looking for something from him, not in a selfish point of view, but for example, there are mentors in careers, there are mentors in technology in specific
mm-hmm,
areas. So if I'm interested on learning in a specific technology area, and I know someone is an expert on that, and I have the affinity, so I feel comfortable approaching this person, I think the key to to this relationship is first to show the interest, but then be very open to their feedback. So if I'm working with someone and they're like, "Oh no, you should probably change your PowerPoint, make it that way, or go this path, or try this technology," and showing them you are taking their advice, that gives some incentive for them to keep mentoring you. I
okay.
think many people fail in not following up with their mentors, but I
Mm,
think that giving back to them when they give you some piece of advice is key to keeping them engaged.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Because some people are not great when they are criticized, like not doing this the right way. And most of the time, we take that personally. He's attacking. He doesn't understand. I know this better than him, and then we lose the opportunity of improving ourselves, or at least just okay. You're not getting what I'm trying to achieve. But the thing is, you should at least take that feedback, take that, I would say, critic into consideration, and evaluate whether it makes sense to apply that or not, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think that makes complete sense. And you have to agree 100% with one person to get value out of it. Like, that's what I tell my kids all the time. Like, I know you are disagreeing with me, but think about what I'm saying and see if you can get something out of that message.
Yeah,
You are
yeah.
not agreeing with me 100%.
Okay. You said also about being ready for the opportunity, and this is something that we see a lot at workplace. Uh, and I want to see your opinion on this. What if someone gives you a task? Erika, you're working in VoIP right now, but I want you to look at fiber. I want you to look at radio. How do you approach those challenges, even when sometimes that person knows that that's not your comfort zone?
And that one is kind of easier for me because I think I have like a pioneer spirit, so I like to learn new things. So
Hmm.
when I'm giving those challenges, I actually look them as an opportunity to expand my knowledge and also get out of maybe repetitive tasks I don't like anymore.
Hmm.
So I think that could be a weakness if you are supposed to be doing this repetitive task, but for what I do is actually a strength because I'm
Hmm.
always doing proof of concepts and moving to the next thing, and I'm trying to document things and pass it to people that will keep the task, but then I move to the next one. So for me, it's actually I enjoy that challenge of moving to the next thing.
Okay.
But if you ask me to go to something I don't like for example, I have never liked, I did testing for a long time,
Hmm.
but I didn't like the coding.
Hmm.
So when I was asked with automating my test, I will try to get some more high value task so I could get away with not doing that. But
Okay.
sometimes you just have to stick to it and deliver results because you are also working for an organization with priorities.
Hmm.
And yeah, at the end of the day, it's a job. So it's a balance between doing what you really like, but still you have to deliver.
Yeah. And you never know, right? Because sometimes they give you this new challenge that you don't like, you don't feel comfortable, but you might actually start enjoying that new thing, that new skill that you're going to acquire, right?
Yeah, and that's funny. I have an example of that one actually. Because I was not comfortable with my English, and I am still not comfortable 100%. Someone asked me to record some videos for YouTube, like 2 years ago, and I was like, but I had the expertise
Mm.
and I had already experienced like what is not owning if you don't know your expertise, someone else will,
Yeah.
and you won't get the perks about it's your job, right? So someone else will be recognized instead. So I jump into it and I did it even when I hated. I hate it. I remember trying to edit those videos, hearing myself back. And at
Mm.
that point, someone reached out on an opportunity, and he was like, "Oh, you want to? We have this opportunity. We are looking for someone that gets more active and does some YouTube videos." And I was like, "No way, that's not my thing." 2 years now, I'm doing these videos for LinkedIn and presenting at Cisco Live. And because of those YouTube videos, I started getting some feedback. People that telling me, "Yeah, I mean, you have an accent, but you also have some inflections. You keep it entertained." I was like,
Mhm.
"Really? Okay." So,
Yeah, that's your person. Sometimes your personality kind of hides your weakness, right?
yeah, or maybe maybe it's enough differentiation also.
Yeah, but I totally get what you say because so English is not my native language as well, and yes, and when you're trying to present or explain something uh, not in your native language, the first time is like, I don't know if they're going to understand what I'm trying to say really in English, like, and the person say, "Oh, I understood." Really? Like I was just saying rubbish. I couldn't understand myself. How did you understand, right? But sometimes the people recognize this and they were supportive. Actually, when they say, "Oh, this guy is struggling with this," so they just help him, right? And you have been doing this on LinkedIn, and how do you manage to do this online content with the work that you do at the same time? Plus, you have family. Plus, you have other things. How you manage those things?
Oh, it's hard, but that's what they are not very polished. So
Hmm.
what I do is I if it is a video, for example, I record. I now found some tools that make the edition process
Hmm.
easier. But I have them in my phone, so if I have an idea, I will say, okay, I will record it. So I do it, and let's say it's 20 minutes recording for a 2 minute video, because I had to get comfortable with the camera first.
Hmm.
But then I kind of edit that in my downtime. Like if I am waiting for something, I'm waiting for my kids to come out from a class. So I
Hmm.
start playing on my phone. And at the end of the day, I don't shoot for perfect. because I know
Mm,
I will never release them. So
okay.
when I feel is good enough, then yeah, I send it. So
Okay. So just whenever you feel like I'm ready, I'm just going to do it, right?
and of course, ChatGPT is a great help for post because I think I have all these ideas in my mind that
Mm.
wouldn't be really like I have them and I know I could write them, but I think it helps with the clarity and reducing the size, for example, making it more on point. So I use also ChatGPT a lot.
No, so that's a use of AI, and we're going to talk in a minute. I want just to wrap this one on around your work at Cisco. So it wasn't like a planned thing, like from the beginning, and we won't say to the end, but it wasn't a planned thing. So I would like to know from you, what would you recommend for someone who wants to follow your path in getting into the market? Take into consideration what we see at this moment. Would you say, okay, just try to apply for a master's degree and then probably choose this program at this company, and probably do you have right now like an idea of what would be a plan like to get a job at a specific company at a specific area?
So I think I've seen two types of people. Like, there is like my profile that I just I won't say I won't plan anything or I am a planner actually. Even
Mm,
I can tell you later on about that. But I think I'm flexible
mm,
and open to the opportunities. And when the right one comes, I jump into it. And yeah, it turns out I enjoy it. I have been more intentional in the later in the last years. But if you have that kind of flexibility, I
mm,
think going for and also I didn't have I say I wanted to go into business, but my reason to go into business was not like I want to be this person in this company. It was more about when I work in the company back in Colombia, I see people that were doing well career wise, and I'm not only talking about money and position, but
mhm,
also influence, which is I think what I looked for the most. They were in business; they were not the engineers.
mm,
And that's what I was. Okay, I need to jump into business, but I was really flexible. So in that case, I say going and applying and keeping yourself open is yeah apply to as much things as you want and always in being it's not like send your resume to all the companies without knowing what the company does. What I mean is
mm,
I went to a Cisco stand. I knew what Cisco was doing, but it was just that it was not that I was fixated on Cisco. I was flexible to any technology company at that point. But I also see people that is very driven. They know what they want from the beginning.
mhm,
And I wouldn't advise them to follow my path because they already know and they probably have worked hard to get there. So for them, I will tell them to keep pushing for that.
mm,
And there are, you can probably the best advice for them is to if you really want to work in a specific company or in a specific position, I think it's all about networking and getting ready for that, like dress for the job you want. I
mhm,
think I have seen people very aggressive pursuing jobs in a good way where like trying to get to know people in the company, doing informational interviews, things like that. And I think that's another approach that works. So I don't think my path fits everyone. But if you have flexibility, for sure, just go and talk with as much people as you can until you find the right opportunity.
okay, okay, that sounds like not a planned thing to do, but you can people can adjust these into their plan, like, okay, I can do this, I shouldn't do that. And also would like to have your opinion on this one. Do you think that college is a requirement now for those who want to get into the market?
I
Like
think
getting a degree, is it something that people should really focus on?
I think it depends greatly on where you are. Like if I were to speak with people in Colombia, I think they won't hire you unless you have a college degree. I seen people here in the US. They are in companies that are more flexible about hiring if you have the right skills or maybe the right certifications to go through some boot camps. Or I have that. I see there is more opportunity for that. But I still think in my case, college was a really great thing as I learn how to think really. Like
Mm,
I haven't used anything I learned from a class. Like I was doing, I did hardware designs, transistors, all of that. And I don't use any of that, but I think it gives you like a way of thinking.
mm,
That goes very analytical, is like the troubleshooting, all of that. I don't know if I will be the same if I hadn't got to that rigorous
okay.
engineering process. So I really value college education, but maybe
It
I'm not
depends.
earning any of the responses, but I think
It
it's
de-
case by
yeah.
case. It depends
Yeah.
greatly on where you are located and what kind of
Yes.
opportunity are you looking for.
Okay. And talking about education, we were speaking before that you don't hold certification. Why?
So when I joined Cisco, actually, I wanted to pursue my certifications, but then I got into my day-to-day job. I had a disappointment when I scheduled mine because I scheduled it and I didn't have the time to study, so I postponed it and then I forgot and I lost my money. I know that was a problem in my side, but then I started learning by doing,
Hmm.
and I realized that the classes I took, because I took some classes for different technology areas, unless you practice, you lose them. So I saw people really doing a lot of effort in getting these certifications,
Hmm.
but I was wondering how long that knowledge will last in their minds, because you are just running to present a test and then get done with that. But I was just thankfully I had a job that allowed me to do that, but I have always had access to equipment and stuff, so I have learned by doing. And at some point with the opportunities I was given, I stopped thinking I need a certification to go out and get an opportunity or get a job, because people already know the quality of my work, and
Hmm.
I have been always pretty confident that I could just move through my connections
Hmm.
and the reputation I have built instead of looking for a certification. But if someone asked me today, like, oh, how do I get started in this field? And like, oh, certifications are really something that is still very valid.
So you don't use, but you recommend people to take it.
If you are kind of a start, because if you have, that's the question I ask. If you already are in the job,
Hmm.
I think certifications can be a way to open doors
Okay.
and also learn about something you don't have exposure to. Like you
Okay.
have already exposure, like it was my case. I already had the lab. I could play with whatever I wanted. Then I didn't see the value of pursuing it, because what was the my gain by doing them? Just having
Hmm.
the CCI number, but it was
Yeah.
not getting. It was not the opening a door I wanted to go to, or it was not giving me exposure to something I didn't already have.
Okay. So certs, they might help you to open the doors to get an interview, like to learn something, if you don't already work at a place where you can get hands on that technology, on that device, right?
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Well, it's working for you, right? And also I know many professionals, they have years of experience, they're really great on what they do, and they also have the same opinion, like I don't need certificate, and they really great on what they do. They're running complex topologies, complex networks. They're really great. So this is, so for anyone who's watching or listening to us, like you really don't need a certification if it's not aligned with your work, if it's not in your plans. Like it's not a requirement, it's like you don't have to, but it might help you in case you need to jump like from one company to another, right?
And it also depends on the positions. So, because in Cisco, I mean, we design networks, I design networks, but then at the end of the day, I'm not running a network in Verizon, for example.
Hmm.
So they may require that the person that is running that has gone through the certification process. So it may be part also of the specific job requirement.
Okay. So learning by doing, it means that you build a lot of labs,
Yeah.
physical one, virtual ones.
Mostly physical. I have been working in industrial IoT for a long time, already 9 years.
Hmm.
And
That's
we
a
don't
lot.
really have virtual industrial switches or routers. I mean, you can have virtual capabilities for those, but the industrial world is really a physical one. You have sensors, you
Hmm.
have actuators. You can virtualize certain computing activities, but you are living in a physical world with
Okay.
harsh conditions, different temperatures. Yeah, so they are physical, and actually that's a challenge sometimes for me because my lab is pretty much like a data center lab, but
Hmm.
these devices are not meant to be on a rack.
Hmm.
So my lab doesn't, it's not pretty at all. Like the cabling, there is no cable management. I guess I could really work hard on that. But my job is so dynamic that I take some shortcuts to be able to meet things. So it's not the perfect fit, but it works for me.
Yes, it's not about how beautiful the rack is going to look, right? It's okay. I need to work in this technology, this sensor, and how to configure it, not how to make the rack like shining yellow and green all the time. It's not about that. It's about okay, I need to test this ASAP, right?
Yeah, and one thing is I recognize I'm not working on a network that is being to stay for a customer for a like will run an environment, because if that's the case I really value like clarity, documentation, like everything to be organized. It has a purpose for it. It even
Hmm.
has a physical, like you are cabling the things the right way so you don't have electromagnetic issues, things like that. But for a lab environment is different. Sometimes when I post pictures of my lab I get the critics all like, oh, that is not how it should be, and like, it's a lab. I mean, it's a proof of concept. I will replace it in a week for something else. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to look perfect. It's just a lab. Yeah, get over it. So, okay, you build in labs, you learn by doing. Do you have any plans to take in certifications in the future?
Not at this point. I entered this niche, which is more about the industry itself.
Hmm.
And I have one certification now. Speaking about the industry, is I'm a Profinet network installer, certified as a Profinet network installer. I forgot that because it says, yeah,
I don't know. I don't know this one.
it is an OT protocol, and it's used for example, in manufacturing. So
Hmm.
that's how the PLC, which is the brains of the process, will communicate with these sensors, actuators, robots, and the protocol that they sometimes they use is Profinet. And I wanted to get an understanding of the protocol to be comfortable designing networks for it. So I went to this class, and as a perk of the class, there was a certificate if you pass the exam. It was a 5-day class. So I wasn't looking for the certification, that's what I forgot. But anyway, something like that comes up in my way, that's where
Yeah.
I wanted to go. I will do it because it's more about understanding the industry. And I think I have the opportunity of learning about networking at Cisco, and the networks I built, they are changing fast. I mean, I right now I'm working with software defined networking, for example. So some things are kind of new, and you can learn them inside Cisco. So I prefer to get the knowledge about the things I don't
Hmm.
have that much exposure. So understanding more about the use case in my customers is more important to me, that not more important, but it's more difficult for me to get at Cisco the understanding how to configure the network. I will find an expert and I will go through my mentorship process to get.
Yes. I need help with this. Can you walk me? Okay, go read that book, and then you go, you read. Okay, I read these two books. I did implement these, right?
Yep. Yeah, you find the expert and then get as much as you can.
Okay. And so during this process, so I'm curious to have your opinion on this. We don't see many women in these roles. That's the way I see it. Like IT engineer. Why is that? And I graduated from the college. This is something that I see like from there, and even becoming a CCIE, we don't see as many women as we see men taking these roles, taking these paths. In your opinion, what is the reason behind that?
I think there are many.
Mm,
I think that the first one, why are not women as many women as men in engineering?
mm,
I think that comes from cultural difference when you are growing up.
mm,
Um, most most kids when they are little, and the girls get gifts like they get dolls or they get these things to do gymnastics and things like that, and the kids get the Lego sets. If the
Hmm.
girl gets the Lego set, is the friend's Lego set, which is about more about the pets and the stuff that really building up the spaceship or something like that. I think some of it is is cultural, although my kids have showed to me that it's also part genetics, I guess, in the sense of their interest. Um, but I remember as a girl growing up, my dad didn't treat me different than my brother. If he was getting a basketball, he will get two basketballs. If he was getting a bike, he will get two bikes. I remember playing Barbies with my brother. So the Barbies will ride in the control cars.
Hmm.
So I think that made me a little bit more open to like a male dominated career. And I know
Okay.
everyone's experience is different, so I won't say that's the case for everyone. But I think that starts from the very beginning. If you are interested or not on becoming like a problem solver,
Hmm.
or that shapes kind of a mindset to join engineering, and also what is perceived culturally as a good path for you to pursue. When I was in undergrad, I remember having a teacher that say, "Oh, I know you are not in undergrad, actually in high school, and I know you are women and you don't enjoy science." And I was like, "What? I enjoy science, but it's all the cultural elements to it."
Okay.
But then when you are in, I think there is also all the disparity sometimes that we think it doesn't exist, but exists still in the job force.
Mm.
I was participating in a panel about women in IoT, about diversity. Last week it was in the Women in IoT chapter,
Hmm.
um, and for that, I was reading some stats, and it's about 20 something percent of males leave the job force after having kids, but 43% of women do. So the difference is very high, and I think it's the lack of support when you are not the lack of policies, because I think the policies are there sometimes,
Hmm.
but it's the lack of empathy, lack of support. So you think you need to go out, you won't have the right buy-in, or you won't be taken seriously if you are leaving early because your kid has an emergency. So I think there is still like a lot of disparity for women and men in the workplace, even if it is not in the policies per se, but most in the culture and the
Hmm.
and even what the employee is feeling.
Okay. So, uh, what women can do, uh, not to change this, but to be included more seriously in this path? Is there something that women can start doing by themselves?
Yeah, I think is speaking about these things help. It was in this panel I participated. It was, of course, it was an IoT community, so it was mostly men. And but then at the end, many approached me and say that was very eye opening. I was like, what? I mean, it's not new, but if you speak about the experience, maybe you create some empathy that
Mm.
is not there by design.
Hmm.
And I think we need that empathy because, for example, when I go to a customer meeting, into a customer meetings, that it's not that this happened too much, but it has happened a couple times. That even if I'm the technical expert and the other person is more like marketing or sales, because the way I look, sometimes I feel there is like they look for the validation of the mail if
Hmm.
what I'm saying is accurate. And I always have had my back from them, like, oh no, she's the expert, or they introduce me as the expert, or Erika is great, she can solve any problem or whatever. So that kind of support
Hmm.
helps. But I think the more we talk about it, the more they realize we benefit from that support.
Okay. So.
And there is also like the sponsored programs, like the more awareness we build, there are some programs that can be built. I remember one VP at Cisco that had this program about hiring women that have been out from work for 5 or 10 years because they were raising their kids,
Hmm.
and he had a program to get them back into the job force. but because he was aware of it. So I think just raising awareness help, and the fact that more women are getting to it also is an example for younger generations. I was watching this social media video about, if you ask kids my age, when I was little, I guess, what do you want to be? Most women will say a scientist or an engineer. But kids nowadays, the girls are saying that. And I think they are saying that is because they see the good role models doing
Okay.
that. So they can see
I can see
themselves.
see someone, a woman. Oh, I want to be like Erika. Okay,
Yeah.
she's cool. She got that superpower, so I want to be like her. Instead of just looking at the man and then she not choosing that path because that's a man, and she's going to choose another path. Okay, that's a woman role. I'm going to choose that path,
Yeah, I
right?
think that I didn't think that was that impactful, but the more years, I guess, the more experience I get, the more I realize it's very important to be a role model. I was once stopped in a parking lot and someone told me she wanted to meet me because she saw my videos in LinkedIn. I was showing her she could be a mom, she could be an engineer, and she could travel the world, and she didn't need to pick one or two. She could do the three of them. I was like, oh, that's so encouraging. I will keep posting in LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you aware of the impact that you've been causing on people? You get people approach you like, "Oh, you changed my life. I did that because of your video."
I don't know if changing lives, but I have been approached saying like, "Thank you for this. I understand this concept." One another person in a conference went to my session and say he wanted to take a picture with me to show his daughter, uh, like because I was an example, and couple times they have introduced me to their kids. So that's really touching because I don't think I'm doing anything special, but I
Hmm.
guess because the uniqueness of women in engineering, especially women in IoT, I think this is even lower than women in working in IT. That puts me in an interest position to be an example.
Okay, that's great. Now, talking about roles, a lot of things have been happening lately related to AI, and I'd like to know your opinion. What do you see right now happening related to AI in terms of jobs? Because this is on the news like every week, every day. AI is taking jobs. Many companies are massive layoffs. But besides this, I would like to have your opinion. Okay, what is AI doing right now that people should not be afraid but should adapt to the changes that are happening now?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I see AI from two points of view. One is AI for my customers, the other one is AI for me as an employee.
Hmm.
I think as an employee, AI really can booster my productivity. So it's not about taking my job, but it's how do I spend the energy in things that are more valuable, and how do I just do low hanging fruit faster.
Hmm.
And I use it a lot for my language skills, which is more aligned with the ChatGPT concept and all of that. But I also see, because I work in an engineering organization, how we are automating, or how we are using AI more than
Hmm.
automating, using AI to do engineering tasks, so we can develop product faster and with more quality, quicker. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's the big benefit. And of course, there will be a transition, because if you are just the worker that is just doing this low hanging fruit
Hmm.
that can be easily be replaced, you better get to upskill yourself
Hmm.
so you are not replaced. But I don't see it as a replacing us. I think it needs a user, and it needs a savvy user that can use it for the to increase the potential. I don't think it's a replacement.
Okay. And so, for those who are afraid, is there any skill that you'd recommend for people to start acquiring, like that they can be like improving themselves using AI? And I don't mean just ChatGPT write this post for me, but give me some examples like people should start using in order to upskill themselves?
Yeah, that's a hard question because I think the if it is not like the ChatGPT concept is more specific to your job. For
Mm,
example, my team works a lot in quality. I don't do quality anymore, but my team does quality. So using AI to write test cases, to write automation for those test cases
mm,
is what can booster their productivity. But for that, they need to get familiar with those specific, I think the specific tools. So I think if you go to the job related, um, it will be specific to what you want to accomplish. There are
okay.
many, but
Okay.
I don't think it's a general one. I use a lot right now. I'm not using it a lot for myself because I do proof of concepts. I interact a lot with customers.
Mhm.
I do. I translate those proof of concepts at the end in network recommendations and all of that. But sometimes when I do something, is the first time someone is doing it. I'm putting this together for the first time, and it's hard to do anything of that with AI. Probably we will get to that point, and in which we can automate some of these new tasks. But I use it a lot for my communication skills, for my presentations, because I need to translate all this technical work I do. I need to put it in a way that it can be consumed. So in my
Yeah.
case, I use it more for communications, even if I'm an engineer. But developers and in quality, they are using it for the work itself, for the technical job itself.
So people have to find out how to get help from AI on a specific test. It can't be generalized like, okay, AI is going to help for every use case, right? So it will depend on each scenario. Okay, so before we wrap up, I would like to also get your opinion on this one. Our background is technical engineer, and but we do something that many engineers don't like to do: networking. And I would say this is it's harder for engineer folks like to break this barrier of networking, getting to social networks, like sharing what they know, connecting with people that have the same interests or not. How important is it for you on being out there sharing what the little that you know with everyone that know less than you? How important is that?
I will break it first in the general concept of networking. For me, that's a big pillar of your development. We were talking about certifications earlier, and the reason I have been moving around without certifications is because of a network I have built
Mhm.
and a reputation I have built. Taking care of those relationships and networking with people is important for I think for everyone, but for me it has been instrumental to be where I am right now. Now going into LinkedIn and sharing like a more like a broadcast, not a one-to-one or
Mhm.
taking care of a specific relationships. I think it's a different thing. I don't think it's needed for everyone. But I will say if you are interested, I think most people is afraid of not having something interesting to say. I even myself that I have been doing it for a while, I struggle with every
Mm.
time I post, I'm like, I am not giving value. Is this value or is it not? I'm just polluting everyone's feed. Coming back to the feedback about the parking lot and the people introducing me to their kids, I can tell it has value.
Mm.
If it resonates with a couple people, you are already bringing value. So I say, if you are interested in doing in it, and don't be afraid to do it. Just put yourself there. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be perfect. I think in a world where all the posts are crafted by ChatGPT and all of that, I think people values human
Yeah.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you just do it if you are interested. But I don't think it's a requirement. It opens door though. It opens the opportunity to. I have been invited to participating in panels and stuff because I have been out there. So if you are out there, you get more visibility and it has some perks. But I think the most important networking is actually like like the intentional relationships you build
Okay.
personally and in your career.